Welcome to Many a Day. Today we'll be making surfboards with the Cricut Maker, printable vinyl, and 2 types of glue, plus a hot glue gun, and some jewelry finds and Velcro. Come along and see the progress. Alright, we're going to be designing the surfboards on the Cricut Maker. You've seen a few of our videos. I'm sure that you've seen how to do it, and I wanted to make a Hawaiian themed surfboard as proportional as possible for the dollhouse, using the 1-inch scale. So what you could do is actually go over and pull up a shape, or you could search for an image such as surfboard. There are different types of shapes. Also have to figure out what project you want. Do you want a card? Or you can just simply say, I want to do a cut, or I'm going to print then cut. I chose print then cut for a couple of reasons. I wanted to actually print a design on the printable vinyl and then actually cut out craft foam to put in the center. And I did use this idea for the fin, so we can push enter. And you'll see image here, insert image, and it shows up quite a large size, but that's okay, we can work on size. Then I go back and look for the shape I want. There are different types of shapes I've learned. There are knee boards, long boards, a variety of boards, sizes per the adult, child, different ages of children. Depends on what you're trying to do, but this one I kind of liked, so I captured that one. And then I decided I would do one more, and I'm going to do a cut only and see what we pull up there. And with that one, you see this is a shape too. I pulled very similar to the one that was a print then cut, and just at a different angle. And then pull another image. I like to play around and see what I like. And then this one is a traditional longboard. I learned a lot, but that's fun. Alright, so there you are. They're all different shapes and sizes, but you want to figure out what size you want and what design you want to put on it, etc. So the other thing you can do is you can take this one, for instance, and decide, okay, I want a basic cut, but maybe I want it yellow. I'll pull up the one I did for this, which was a basic cut. And you see what I did there is I changed it all to yellow. And you can see the dimensions, 1 inch by 9 inch. Depends on what you're trying to do. I flattened this, you can unflatten it, and you'll see this was strictly a square that I modified, and I changed the color. I got the dimensions I wanted. You'll see that right there. Lengthened it the way I wanted and changed it to blue because I thought that would be pretty cool in the center of the, and you can make it whatever thickness, length you want. See? And when you go back, when you've decided you want it, maybe I want it a little thicker, you just click the padlock, and that becomes your design right there. So that was the bottom of the surfboard. We'll put this back the way I had it. And I'm going to attach it, flatten it again. Then I have this one. I put 2, and I pulled a turtle design right from images, and I laid it on top. But when you do that, make sure you highlight it, you go to arrange, and you send to the back. Because when you send to the back, then your design, your turtle, your stripes, whatever, will come to the top. Also, when I lined up my lines, I put everything on the grid so I could try to make it straight. Now, if you're doing this in vinyl and you want to cut out the individual pieces, you can do that. What I did is I flattened all of this. As you see here, it's already in the flattened section, and I'll show you why. Now those fins that I showed you that were this, I changed it to be this, just by turning it all black. And you can search for the specific images. And I tried to make the design fit, if you look here, so it's going to fit on the edge. And here's the other one. Now this is a good example. See what happens when I move this, but I want it on top. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, go up to Arrange, send it to the back. Now watch what happens when I bring the fin. Then I know it's going to fit. I'll put them closer together so they'll be easier to see. Okay, let's see. All right, so for these, this is what I'm going to print then cut, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's sitting on the board, because when you print it and cut it, it's not going to be there unless you attach it, which will turn it all into one solid color. Over here, you'll see I duplicated. So what you do is you take, I have a front and a back, those are going to be out of vinyl, printed vinyl. I go over to duplicate, and when you click it, you get the same one. But I don't want another print and then cut. I want to cut this out of craft foam and be in the center. So then I'm going to go over to, I've highlighted it, and you'll see it's basic cut and color. Let me do it again. Oh, I know what I did. Unflatten. You have to unflatten it first. Sorry about that. Unflatten it. It's a good idea to put your pieces on the design space closer together so you don't end up doing what I just did and have them further down. Okay, get rid of that. Basic silhouette here. Don't need. It's right there. And, okay, so let's say you don't like that angle. Just as an example, just bring it any way you want, okay? To change your size, you can go up to where it says size and change the size. Let's see, we'll make it 3 inches. And it will keep it proportional. Now, if you want to change the proportion, unlock it. And you can actually do it this way too. Or you can change the size at the top. Let's say we're going to make it, just for fun, 6 inches. Now you can see the size. But we're not going to use that today, so that's going to go away. All right, so now we have the front and the back of the long board with a fin. We have the front and the back of the shorter board with a fin. And then I have one of each of the boards that I'm going to cut out of craft foam. But I'm also going to cut this black out of craft foam because I don't need the vinyl. I just need something sturdy. And I'm going to cut 4 of these and glue them together just to give them a little thickness. So it can be what you want. Now with the Hawaii, this was fun. What I did, let's see if I can pull that up here. Well, here, I'll show you an example of a conch shell. This is one I played around with. Let's see if we can get it. Okay, here's a conch shell. Let's say I wanted that print then cut. You can see that, okay? But I wanted to be a little dimensional when I printed it with color. So then you can go over and duplicate it. So now I have 2. So I'm going to change the color of one of them. We'll make it blue. Kind of a pretty blue. Okay. And you can put one on top of the other. Maybe I want this one to be in the back. So you go to Arrange, send it to the back, bring the blue and put it on top. Now maybe I want to, and you do this with t-shirts too all the time, maybe I want it to be just a little bit bigger, so it's a shadow. And then you can clean it up a little bit. You can change the dimensions. And if you like that, I probably would, it's a little blurry. I would probably make it a little bit closer to the, I like that, just a hint of red. So then I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go over, I group it, you don't have to, that's just me. Now if you attach it, watch the color. It should all be one, but it's a print and cut, that's right, so it won't matter. But you have to flatten it, so you go back and highlight it again, and flatten it. So then when I print it, let's go to Make. Alright, so now we have our sheets. We have this one. That conch shell is too big to put on this sheet because you'll see the black marks around. That shows you what's actually going to be printed on the sheet. As you can see, the conch shell is on a separate sheet for the print and cut. And then the green represents the craft foam for the other. And you can see you have different sizes. Let's say I don't have a 12 by 12 sheet. Maybe I have the smallest I can do is 8 by 10. If you decided you wanted to move to another sheet, or if you wanted to not cut it out this time, you click on the 3 dots on the left and you'll see that you can move it or hide it. Other thing you can do, let's say if you were doing something and you wanted to have 4 of everything, then you can actually change how many you want. Let's say we'll do 4. Apply. And you will end up with multiple pages of everything. Okay, I'm going to get this ready, clean up what I just did, so we're only going to print out what we need, and walk you through the different types of printable vinyl that I have, and then we'll go ahead and print and cut out. Alright, I made a different change because the craft foam I have a lot of the black, but I only have a 7 by 5 yellow. So I changed this one, moved it around, and you can see I've angled it. It was straight before, I moved it around so it would be 7 by 5. And the smallest I can pick is 8 1/4 by 10, but we're going to try to fit it on that 7 by 5. Now my green is 9 inches long. And again, like I said, the foam I wanted to use was 7 inches by 5, but I have a large sheet of the black. So I'm actually going to move this, because it's a cut, I can move the object, and I'm going to move it to my black field. And then you confirm, because I made this a 4 by 6. I need to change it. Let's say we'll do 8 by 11, just for grins, just to get it on there, and then we'll play with it where we're going to move it. Alright, so go back to my 3. 3 dots. I am not ambidextrous, can you tell? And I'm going to move it to here. Clicks and confirm. There it is. But it is right on top of the other 2. So I need to move those over. And let me look at my size of the sheet that it's telling me I need, which is actually 6 inches by 1. So let me go over here and put it by 8 by 10, see what it does. Okay, so it actually physically moves this and these 2. I'm going to have a sheet that's 9 inches long, and I go by 4 inches just to make sure I've measured correctly. You'll see when we get ready to make it how it cuts out. And I'll be back in a minute. There are different kind of vinyls you can use. I use the Cricut. Cricut is more of a gray. The other thing you could do is actually your labels, printable labels from Cricut. I haven't tried any other brand. Those are thinner, they're not vinyl, but they might work if you're putting it on craft foam. So just a thought. I'm going to print these on my HP printer. You put the paper in on my HP printer face down, so it's going to actually bring it back up and print on that underside. Check your printer to see what works. So now I'm ready. I'm going to continue, and it's a print and cut. It says connect to your maker, which I have done, but I want to send this to the printer, so I'm going to click it, and then you can allow the bleed or not allow the bleed. It identifies my printer, and I want one copy, and then I'm going to print. It's a good idea to go ahead and test your system before you print any big object and make sure that it's going to be working correctly. Right, so now we have it from the printer. You can see the turtle and the stripes. You can see Hawaii. Turn it around, maybe make more sense. You see how I did the red and the blue just to bring out the design. Oh, I also forgot to tell you, I put a rectangle around Hawaii and I attached it together, flattened it together. So when it cut it out, it cut out that design. If not, I probably would end up getting little H and A and W and A and I and all the pieces of the flower cut out. And I wanted to make sure it was flat and it would print, because it kept wanting to print by itself. So again, I may have done something wrong. Now, I immediately panicked because I thought, my goodness, these are long for a dollhouse. But as my husband had mentioned to me, they need to be 3 feet longer than the people. That's why we did it 9 inches for the big one, the longboard. So here is the male doll that I have. And if you put him on the base, lay him down, you got 3 inches above him. And that makes it exactly 3 feet proportional for him to surfboard. And the same for this one. It's going to be shorter because it's a shorter board. But there you go. All right, now I'm going to be cutting this out, and I'll walk you through that in a minute. I'm using the light grip mat for this. That's what you use for paper, lightweight materials. And I'm using the brayer to make sure that this is nice and smooth, no bubbles, and then it adheres as best it can to the light grip mat. Now, you'll notice over here, I have a little piece I cut out from something else. Like I said, I try not to waste anything. I try to use it as many times as I can to save on expenses. And I just check for bubbles, make sure it's all smooth. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it in the Cricut Maker. I'll turn this camera so you can see. And it's blinking, telling me it's ready. But I also like to double check. You can go ahead and push the button so it doesn't fall. Make sure you got enough room behind it. You see it's ready now. It's ready for me to push the C little Cricut button. I'll take you back over here. I am using printable vinyl. My tools are ready. It says a fine point blade. Now if you put the wrong blade in, it will let you know. I've done it. Not intentionally. I tried to videotape this with the machine on, but it is too loud. The microphone is too sensitive. So just showing you what the machine does as far as it going through. It actually has a way to monitor your lines. That's one reason it has the big rectangle around your printable vinyl to kind of look at the markers, know where to cut, and kind of scans the whole thing, and then it comes back and then cuts out the shape. All right, it's ready, and it will tell me because it's going to blink. But also there it will say 100%. I don't know if you saw that. And so then I'm going to go on to the next. My next step is to cut out the black pieces out of craft foam. So there you are on that. And I'm going to, it says printable vinyl, so now I have to go back and change what I'm going to print. I need to change from printable vinyl to craft foam, and I don't have that preloaded in here, so you browse materials, type in, you can search all, but time is precious. So I type in craft, let's see if that'll pull up, and search. And you'll come over here to craft foam. You've got felted, craft bonded, glitter, whatever. This is just the basic. Pull that up. So then my machine knows I'm going to be cutting out craft foam, and then it will tell me what type of tool I need. So then I'm going to go for this mat, and it's going to be on craft foam. And then the next thing I need to do is load it into the machine and push the right buttons. Clicking the start button. And then I'm going to click the C. Of course, I'm going to go back over here. My machine says it has craft foam, default pressure, press go, which is the Cricut button. Now something we've learned is sometimes you have to do several passes. We're just going to try it, see what happens. The worst that happens is that I don't have, I have to start over. Alright, so I took it out, and off the standard mat, and you'll see it did not cut all the way through. Here's the back side. Made a nice indentation. I find if I just kind of press it with my fingers, finger press it, we say in sewing, that will give me my edge. And then I'm just using my Cricut scissors. Again, you could try the knife blade. And these scissors are extremely sharp, so please make sure, if you're doing this with children, to supervise very carefully. Some people had asked that I do a video, and that's the reason I am attempting to do this. And I'm going to lay this on top to see if it's going to be small enough. And I probably should have gauged. I took 3/10 of an inch off the size, but that's a little too wide, because it's the vinyl is not going to go over both sides. So I'm going to trim it a little bit. I'd rather take a little bit at a time, and you might find that you have to trim it some more. And I appreciate all of you following the video. As I've said before, we did this mainly because people were isolated with COVID, just trying to share the dollhouses, and someone said, well, why don't you show how you're making them? And I had challenged my husband and myself to make the solar-powered beachside bungalow, and that's what this is all about. That's why you'll see nautical themes and Hawaiian themes, because it is a Hawaiian-themed beachside bungalow. So now I'm going to take this other sheet that's the front that I have the Hawaii logo on. I spent several hours just researching. I am not obviously someone who goes in the surf, except maybe to walk and collect shells and swim, but this was fun. This was fun to get an idea what that's all about, because there are a lot of people that are excellent at it. Now what I'm finding is I'm off here, so I need to take it off quickly, and I probably will come back and put some glue on it just to make sure it stays, because the adhesive is not all that strong. And with craft foam, that's not always too easy to glue. You also could take Mod Podge, which I believe I might do, just to give it a sheen when I get through. All right, so now, okay, see there's a wrinkle there. Can you see that? And I still don't have enough. I have a side, and there's a wrinkle there. So that tells me I need to trim my board, and look how, that's what I thought it would do with the craft foam. It's actually going to, you'll be able to manipulate if you want it at an angle or not. All right, so I'm going to take this off and trim it again to get it the size I want. So I typically just put it back in its spot because it's nice, shiny. You'll see the shiny. And my son said, Mom, I think they'd like it better if you actually showed them how you made the mistakes instead of pictures. I'm like, okay. I did not intend to make this so challenging, but I guess I've accomplished what he suggested. You could also do this by hand. Just get some pretty vinyl that you like, contact paper or whatever, and or draw something. Have your kids draw something. Mod Podge it. You don't have to do it this way. I just wanted the challenge. I wanted to see if I could do it and see if it would turn out. And I absolutely love my Cricut Maker, so I thought, well, what if I try it with a Cricut Maker and see how that works? So now what I'm going to do, it looks like I've got pretty good. I'm going to trim just a little more on this side and glue it, and I'll be back. All right, I want to show you what I learned from this lesson. If you make your inside craft foam 1/8 of an inch narrower than the outside vinyl piece, you'll be able to sandwich it in. And then what I'm doing is I'm actually putting a little bit of glue. See if I can get you in focus here. Putting a little bit of glue on the side. So that my pieces will come together. To do the sides, I thought it'd be wise to use a toothpick. So I've kind of moved to a different area, have a little more working surface, and again protect it with my paper and wipe my hands a lot because I am already glued. And so I'm just putting a little bit of glue inside where I want my sides to get together. Okay, if I spill a little, I try to get it up right away and express any of the excess out as you go. I like to put a napkin or a tissue there when I do that, which I can show you in a minute. But that's all I'm going to do is just go around. You know, so the other question about craft foam glue versus Aleene's tacky glue or another PVC like Elmer's. I think you can use just about any brand you want. I like to save money. I happen to have this Elmer's because I bought it for my grandkids. But because you're going to go paper to paper, you know. You got the foam in there, but it's sandwiched between the edges of paper. So I'm just going to go around and get that completed. Putting a little pressure to get it to stick. Adding a little more glue as I go along if I need it. Try not to overdo it because I really don't want it to get on the ink. And hope this is making sense. This is a fun thing to do with children. Once you figure it out, I'm hoping this is informative enough that you don't make the same mistakes I make. We learn from each other. And I did not see any videos on how to do this, so I just thought, well, why not make one? If it's beneficial to somebody, that's great. I really do appreciate this opportunity. Y'all have been great to me. This is so helpful for me, and it's fun to share because it's an unusual hobby that some people find quite unusual. It's something I've wanted to do my whole life since a child. So this is since I saw my grandmother's dollhouse and fell in love with it. I collected things and made things for years, even starting as a child, and have been able to put those in. You know, it's never too late. And I'm trying to make this as a legacy for our grandchildren to kind of show some of our history, talk about different cultures and art, design, just to kind of get them to learn about problem solving and enjoying life and turning something memorable into something worthwhile. And the goal is that they each have a little something in these houses, so when they get old enough to really appreciate them, they can remember their cousins and other family members. All right, I'm going to let this dry. I used the miniature banker's clips. It gave the right amount of pressure and helped seal the edges of the vinyl over the foam. And then I kept checking to make sure the glue was not sticking to the banker's clips and tried to clean it off. When you get glue on your banker's clips, you can just take a tissue, napkin, whatever, clean it off, and then if I have to, I use a toothpick. Right here is the Hawaiian longboard, surfboard, and the banker's clips seem to do the trick, so it's nice and smooth, and all the paint, the glue I've taken off as best I can. Then I want to show you, I ended up cutting the black foam even more, so you'd have an 1/8 of an inch overhang on the top and the bottom. And now we're going to glue it. I'm going to try Aleene's tacky glue this time. All right, we're back. Before I change my mind again, I'm allowed to do that. One thing I decided, I started looking at it, and it wasn't so much the glue that I was seeing on the sides, and I had totally forgotten about this, but when you print and cut, sometimes what you'll find is it will leave a little white line around the piece that you're cutting. And that's what I was seeing. So I just took a Sharpie, a fine point Sharpie. I tried the ultra fine point and it was too fine. And I just basically just ran it on the side like so. Give you an idea. It's up to you if you want to do it. You might want to incorporate a white line around your piece when you're cutting it out, and then you don't have to worry about that. But I just like this idea. So instead of going to the longboard, now I'm saying it correctly, I'm going to show you the Mod Podged Glass Luster. I've used it on a few pieces before in the dollhouse. I'm just going to pour some in a plate. I have to recap it because I'm notorious for not putting the lids on things. and having messes. And I just have a bowl of water. As you can see, hopefully you can see all this here. I like to pour it on a little plate, and then I keep that art plate until I can't use it again. I use the little sponges. You can see it's well used. They're not, they're supposedly disposable, but I have found if you rinse them out right away, they work pretty well. I'm just dipping a little bit of water and squeezing the excess out. And I'm just going to put some Mod Podge. I'm going to go on the back side because I figure if it doesn't work, if I ruin the back side, it won't be as bad as ruining the front side. But I think it'll work. I'm excited. We'll see what happens. And you don't want any bubbles in it. So, and you can take your toothpick and hold it down and just put a coat on and let it dry. It's going to be milky at first, but that's the nice effect. So I'm going to put that to the side, and then I'm going to start working on gluing the true longboard. And what I did, learned my lesson from the last time, I cut it even more narrow. So I will probably go back in and reprogram the Cricut Maker to make it more narrow, because you really do need 1/8 of an inch on each side. Okay, so this one now is going to be, the craft foam itself will be 8 1/4 inches long. The widest part will be, 5/8 of an inch. And then the most narrow part will be 1/8 of an inch at the very end. Again, you could cut that out on your own. You don't need a Cricut Maker to do that. I just wanted to practice and see what it would be like. I'm also going to be using the Aleene's tacky glue to see if it does a better job of it's a quick dry glue. So we'll see if it works a little better for me. So I'm going to glue the end, the one side. You don't want too much, but you want enough. And you can always come back and add more. And then I'm going to choose, and here remember how we talked about before, peeling off. Now sometimes, see what's happening, the adhesive to the back of this vinyl is actually stuck to the shiny part, and so I am not going to have my adhesive part. So what I need to do then is go to another section where I can get my adhesive. And you just simply peel it off. Okay. And try to center it as best you can. Turn it over, check it out, see if it's in the right spot. And if it is not, then you move it. There's probably a bit of a glare, and I do apologize. And again, it's quick dry, and it's doing a nice job of drying. I guess what I could have done was I put this on. So I think we might be all right there. Now I'm going to glue. Use a well-ventilated area if you're going to use the Mod Podge. It does have a bit of a fume to it, and if you have any allergies or sensitivities, that might be a bit of a challenge for you. All right, let's see how this goes. Now last time I had smoothed the glue all in, and it didn't really matter. All right, so again, I'm peeling off. And this is the front side that has the turtle. So now I want to match up as best I can my end pieces before it's permanently dried. Let's see how we're doing. You can see that or not. Okay, so you got your sides, the ends. And so now I'm going to smooth that, both sides. And this was where my handy toothpick that I have now misplaced. It's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. And this is where I'm going to just put some more glue down. Getting towards the end of my bottle. I'm going to have to buy some more next time I shop. I like the stand on this because it makes it easier for the cap. And then I'm just going to put some down on the sides. Try not to drip too much, because again, that's water-based ink. And like I said, the last time the banker's clips worked really well. So I'm not going to fiddle with trying to do this by hand. I'm going to use the banker's clips. Now we're just going to try to press it. And like I said, I like to use the edge of a paper towel or a napkin. Don't use a tissue because I found it sticks to the glue and then you have a mess. I'm just pressing in, except what I want to do is do this from the other side. All right, so it's squishing out on the side. That's okay. Just push it back in. Wipe your fingers as best you can. Okay. All right. Let's see, I've got a little bit of glue on the outside. I think it's just something that's going to happen. All right, we're going to start pushing the sides together. I want that bump in the middle so it looks like you have that board inside. I'm finding there's some are using foam. Of course, they say once you hit a big wave, that's the end of the board. It's quite interesting to learn. There are different boards for different countries. Australia has its own design. It's more of that short board design, but it's a little more squatty in the center. And I know that's not a technical term, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, now there's glue that's coming out inside the banker's clip. I just go in and just dry it off and close it up again. All right, so I'm going to go along and do this, and I'll come back to you when we're finished and ready to see what the Mod Podge looks like. This is the next phase with the Mod Podge Glass Luster. One coat. I'll show you the original, kind of flat, and that gives it a nice sheen. I think I'm going to do one more coat at least, but I'll do both sides with 2 coats, and I'll show you when that is completed. All right, the test subject was the Aleene's Quick Dry Tacky Glue, and I'm finding that it dries about the same amount of time as the Elmer's Extra Strong Glue All, and I'm having to use the banker's clips. I was hoping maybe I wouldn't have to, but it's all right. It's coming along just nicely. And the glue, when you get glue inside your banker's clips, just get you a cloth and try to wipe out. Let's see, hopefully I'm not too high up for you to see. And clean them up. And I just basically get all that glue out, get a toothpick or whatever you need and clean it out. While the Mod Podge is drying on the front of the shorter board, I thought I would show you, now that I've taken the banker clips out, you can see it's pretty secure. So I'm going to do the same thing with a Mod Podge on this one and apply 2 coats, and then we will let you know what it looks like when we finish. You can see how shiny the surfboards are, which is the effect I wanted. And when I researched it, I found it has, I call it a fin, but it's also called a skeg, and it looks like a little, kind of a triangle. I'll put it there. I did a smaller one for the smaller board and just a tiny bit larger for the long board. Also, I believe that was 1970s that they came up with the skeg. I might be wrong, time frame. 1930s, something like that. And then in the 1970s, they came out with a leash. It's a foot leash, basically to tie your foot to the board so that if you do end up in the water, you don't lose your board. And I guess there's a little controversy over that because people are afraid that other people might get hurt or the person who had the board might get hurt. But it's been pretty popular. I see it a lot for the children for training boards. So I'm going to flip these over and I'm going to eyeball it. But I believe, so it's a flat end is going to go, I believe, this way, the other way. I have my expert here telling me what to do because I'm not very logical. And it goes near the end of the board. And I'm just going to hot glue it, just regular hot glue, and just let it sit for a brief moment so it will stay upright. And I'm going to do the same for the other one, except I have to flip it over because it needs to be on the back. I've seen some have 3 and 4 of these fins, so I guess it's just what you want for your surfboard. Okay. I'll clean up the excess in a little bit. Then I believe we'll have to flip this over and put it on the top to do the leash. Well, while that's working on that, I can work on the next one. Just be careful you don't burn yourself. So then the second one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a hole in the end and about there. I'm going to take my turkey skewer. Got a little more area here, so I might be able to make a bigger diameter. Okay, I already pre-cut, and what you do is you measure to a little past the center of the half length of the board, if that makes any sense. So here we go. Oh, when I was talking about the Aleene's quick dry tacky glue, which I really enjoy using, compared to the Elmer's, I had to go back and re-glue 3 times with the Aleene's. So I would encourage using something other than that if you're going to do this, because the vinyl just doesn't want to adhere. All right, we'll let that dry. All right, that did not work. We found that the necklace was stronger than I am, and it would not stay glued to the wire. So I picked up some Velcro, cut just a small rectangle out of it, and then cut it, sorry for my arm, so basically cut it in three slivers. And what you do is take the plastic off. This is the Velcro non-sewing Velcro. So cut a piece off, hopefully you can see that. And let me just move that out of the way. And I'm going to do the same on the other end. Looks like I want to be joined to the Velcro backing. So then, starting to take your back off of the Velcro is always a challenge. We found this worked well. Since it has the adhesive, it's going to want to stick to itself. So what you're going to do, I'm going to move this surfboard out of the way, bring the longboard. So hopefully it's in view. So you have this elastic, and what we did is we just laid it on the adhesive there. I'm I'll lower it so you possibly can see it. And then hot glued just a tiny bit. And then as quickly as you can, the adhesive part that's open and not sealed, put it there. And then I grab my tweezers. These are Cricut tweezers, they're really cool. And hold it together until it dries. And now I have a leash and I have a skeg, and I just put a little piece of vinyl, Cricut or Oracle vinyl, just a little tiny strip, just laid it on there.
Well, here you are. These are the back sides of the two surfboards, nice and shiny. And you could use Borland's wax and try that if you wanted more of a matte finish. Here they are on the front porch of the beachside bungalow by Real Good Toys. And here's just a close-up. Appreciate you watching. Come back and watch and see where we go next. Take care.
Alright, so I'm going to use Elmer's glue, all-purpose PVC glue. You can get a lot of these types of items at the dollar store. I have tried craft foam glue. Honestly, I haven't been very thrilled with it. So